Many different exotic armor pieces from Destiny 1 have made a return to Destiny 2 since the release of the game in 2017. However, if we exclude the class exotics that you get from factions and the other 3 exotic class items from the Collector's Edition upgrade of the Taken King, there are still 25 Destiny 1 exotic armor pieces not in Destiny 2. There are plenty fan favorite exotic armor pieces that haven't returned, armor pieces that saw players only ever using them and nothing else, no matter what, no matter the activity, and leaving every other exotic to sit in their vault gathering dust. And what's curious is that while there have been plenty of these exotics added into Destiny 2, no Destiny 1 armor has been brought back since Season of the Lost in August of 2021. Who knows if this is just a purposeful shift away from Destiny 1 in order to focus on completely new ideas or exotics, or just Bungie taking a break from adding them in, and it will remain to be seen how much longer it will be till another exotic armor piece from Destiny 1 is added. I also have a video on the exotic weapons from Destiny 1 that haven't returned in Destiny 2, so if you haven't seen that yet, feel free to check it out. What I want to do is go over all the exotic armor from Destiny 1 for Hunter, Warlock, and Titan that has not returned in Destiny 2, and give my brief opinion on if I could see it returning or not. The channels I used will be in the description down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. What better way to start off the Hunter exotic armor pieces not in Destiny 2 by talking about the Bones of AO exotic leg armor. Originally released in the House of Wolves, I would argue this is one of the most used exotics for hunters in the game. With the simple perk of providing hunters with an additional jump, that additional movement was perfect for every single activity in the game. As I will mention with a certain Titan exotic later on, any exotic that allowed players to move faster or gain additional movement capabilities was an instant equip for the majority of players. Not to mention that the exotic went with pretty much every piece of armor in the game. The issue with bringing back this exotic in Destiny 2 is that we already have the Stompies, which act as the movement speed exotic for hunters. However, I would argue having an extra jump compared to an increase in movement speed is different enough to warrant a return. The ATS Arachnid, released with the Dark Below, was an exotic helmet for the hunter with the perk Arachnid Sensorium, which gave golden gun users an increase in zoom for accuracy when they aimed in their golden gun, and aiming in their golden gun meant you could keep it out for a longer duration. The exotic was as interesting as a unique perk, which is to say not much at all, and as such was not used all that much anyways, except for maybe a bit in PvP. Considering how it seems Bungie has moved away from exotics that alter the function of supers and have opted for exotics that work alongside normal abilities instead, I couldn't really see the ATS Arachnid returning, and considering the lackluster effect it gives, it would need a serious rework. ATS 8 Tarantella, the other ATS 8 exotic for hunters, is the exotic chest piece released with the Taken King. The Tarantella has the exotic perk called, the Tarantella, which reduces arc damage from minions of darkness and allows arc grenades and arc blade to recharge faster. While I wouldn't say this exotic was the most used in the game, it provided some great passive benefits, which meant if anyone was running arc subclass on hunters, if they had this exotic, it was an option to use. Now in regards to it returning in Destiny 2, considering the first half of the exotic perk can be accomplished with resistance mods on your chest piece, the Tarantella would need to be changed a little bit, such as the Tarantella providing another grenade, much like the Armamentarium for Titans, but Arc 3.0 already makes abilities so much easier to get back that the bonus grenade and super energy part of the exotic wouldn't really be all that interesting in Destiny 2. The other exotic that helped Golden Gun that has not been added into Destiny 2 is the AKliophage Symbiote. Released with Destiny 1, the exotic has the perk Last Man Standing, which gives your Golden Gun an additional shot, which was pretty decent, since it could secure you another kill in the Crucible, and if you were ever running Golden Gun in PvE, it could kill an additional enemy. Considering a variant of Golden Gun in Destiny 2 lets you keep firing until it runs out so long as you keep getting kills, I couldn't see this exotic coming back as it would be completely useless without a complete rework. The Mask of the Third Man is a hunter exotic helmet originally released with vanilla Destiny. With the exotic perk Unstable Current, your arc blade attacks used less super energy, which meant you could use your arc blade significantly longer. Always found this exotic to be pretty useful, especially in PvP and in scenarios where I needed to kill a lot of enemies in PvE. In Destiny 2, this exotic has essentially been replaced by the Raiden Flux, which works with the Arc Staff Super to give you increased damage and duration on Super when attacking, which is why I can't really see the exotic coming back. The Hunter exotic chest piece Crest of Alpha Lupi, not to be mistaken with the exotic Crest of Alpha Lupi chest piece for the Titan in Destiny 2, released with Destiny and was a fairly great support option for hunters. Its exotic perk allowed you and your teammates to revive faster, and your super would spawn additional orbs for your enemies. There wasn't really much said about this exotic, exotic, but I could see it returning without much change. In fact, why not return it so it could stand alongside the Crest of Alpha Lupi for Titan? Skyburner's Annex, the Hunter exotic helmet released in the Taken King, was honestly one of the best support exotics in the game for hunters. Coming with the exotic perk Versatile Shooter, this exotic had a chance to create orbs on heavy weapon kills, and picking up these orbs when you had a full super had a chance to grant special ammo. This chance for special ammo was actually pretty high, and unfortunately I didn't actually know how good this exotic was until I started making this video, since I decided to put it on and try it after watching a few videos on it. Considering how most recently Warlocks got this Cenotaph mask, which specializes in spawning ammo for teammates, I could see this exotic coming back in Destiny 2 at some point in the future, not to mention it had a fairly unique looking Taken design to it that looked great. The final Hunter exotic from Destiny 1 not in Destiny 2 is the Don't Touch Me exotic gauntlets. Released in the Dark Below, the Don't Touch Me gauntlets were perfect for the endgame activities in Destiny 1, such as nightfalls and raids. The exotic perk Defensive Reflex made it so taking melee damage would briefly make you invisible. They looked real sleek and were a fairly popular pick among hunters. The exotic has kinda been added into Destiny 2 with the Assassin's Cowl essentially accomplishing the idea of getting close to an enemy and becoming invisible by killing it, although adding a possible arc jolt when you get hit by the enemy could be an idea for how the perk can be reworked, and the Don't Touch Me is added into Destiny 2. Starting off, the Warlock, the exotic helmet, the Ram, released I believe with the launch of Destiny 1, is one of the most loved Warlock exotics that is not currently in Destiny 2. The exotic perk, Strength of the Ram, gives players increased armor, and that increased armor is actually quite substantial, hence why it's so loved. Also, if you're on the Void subclass, melees trigger health steal on hit, which can be great for tricky situations if you're surrounded by enemies or had tons of thrall around you. Talking a bit more about the increased armor players got with this exotic, it essentially made Guardians able to survive attacks that would normally kill them. In both PvP and PvE, this exotic was a great choice, and I've seen quite a few Warlocks who only use this helmet. I could see the Ram returning in Destiny 2, although I imagine they would have to nerf the amount of armor players could have, and it probably wouldn't be nearly as substantial. The function of your melee giving health back is a bit inconsequential since Devour is in Destiny 2 already, but perhaps that could simply be a perk, giving players Devour on melee kills even if it isn't a fully charged melee kill. The Purifier Robes, a Warlock exotic chest piece released with House of Wolves, has the exotic perk Burn Brighter. Activating Radiance from Death disorients nearby enemies. From what I can remember, this exotic was decent if you were in the Crucible, but I just don't remember seeing that many people using it. Let me know down in the comments below if you used and enjoyed this exotic. Now, considering Radiance is not in Destiny 2, the exotic would have to be completely changed in order to come back. However, I could see it returning with the new Solar subclass being added for Warlock and Final Shape, especially since from what I've seen, it's meant to be a callback to the Radiant Super from Destiny 1. The Sunbreakers, not to be confused with the Destiny 2 exotic Sunbracers, is the exotic gauntlet for Warlock released with Destiny. The Sunbreakers came with the exotic perk Helium Cycle, which gave players an extra solar grenade while also increasing the duration of your solar grenade. I actually used this exotic quite a bit since I never had all that many of the Warlock exotic armor pieces. It is definitely a well-rounded exotic, and solar nades are a great option for all activities in Destiny 1. To be honest, the only reason I'm including the Sunbreakers, even though the Sunbracers exist, is because the name and perk is slightly different. But this exotic is never being added back considering the obvious similarities with the Sunbracers in Destiny 2. Obsidian Mine, the Warlock exotic helmet released with the Dark Below, allows your Nova Bomb kills to reduce cooldowns of your next Nova Bomb. The amount of super energy you would get back was actually quite substantial, especially if you threw it into a group of enemies. Considering how much super energy you would get back, it made this exotic fairly decent, and you could in certain scenarios get your exotic completely back if you killed enough enemies. Not to mention its black look, considering it's obsidian, definitely added to its appeal. The reason it will most likely not return in Destiny 2 is that the exotic helmet Skull of Dire Ahamkara already has a perk giving super energy back on Nova Bomb kills. Part of the Praxic Fire is an exotic chest piece released in vanilla Destiny and has the exotic perk Praise the Sun, which further decreases all ability cooldowns while Radiance is active and greatly increases agility. I would argue it's a slightly better option to use than the Purifier Robes, since normally if you're using Radiance, it's mainly to kill ads, or you died and had to activate your Radiance super to revive yourself. The benefit of being able to throw out a few more grenades when your super is active isn't too bad of ability, so Heart of the Praxic Fire is always a decent option if you couldn't think of another exotic to use. I can't really see this exotic coming to Destiny 2, with the same explanation as Purifier Robes being that there is no Radiant Super in Destiny 2. One of the coolest looking exotics in the game, Alchemists Rement, is a Warlock exotic chest piece that was released with the Taken King. While this exotic may look good, its exotic perk is quite bad. Iron the Gold, the exotic perk for Alchemist Rement, gave a chance to gain Glimmer on primary ammo pickup. If you ever had Glimmer problems, then at least you had this exotic at your disposal, and considering Glimmer isn't really a problem gaining in Destiny 2 either, I can't see this exotic ever coming back. Much like the crest of Alpha Lupi for Hunter, the Light Beyond Nemesis accomplished the same goal. Released in Destiny Year 1, its exotic perk allowed you and your fireteam members to revive faster, along with your super generating extra orbs. Much like with crest of Alpha Lupi for Titan, I could see Light Beyond Nemesis returning in the same role as the crest for the Titan in Destiny 2. The Impossible Machines are Warlock Gauntlets released in the Taken King. Unfortunately, these were one of the worst exotics in the game. The exotic perk unlocks for Stormcaller the Landfall node, which for those who don't know, launches a bolt of lightning into the ground when you cast your super. While the Landfall node on Storm Chance is a decent ability in both PvP and PvE, and exotic simply granting a perk from your subclass and nothing else definitely made players leave it in their vaults. While I can't see the Impossible Machines returning in Destiny 2, it would be cool if they were reworked to help out the Storm Chance super, since it isn't nearly as used or powerful as it was in Destiny 1. The last Warlock exotic not in Destiny 2 is the Void Fang Vestments. Released with Destiny, the Void Fang Vestments had the exotic perk Hungering Void. Spawned with full grenade energy and your Axion Bolt, grenade spawns an additional seeker. This exotic was great for Void Warlocks in PvP situations, as Axion Bolts were such a deadly grenade to use. However, for PvE, people mostly just used Obsidian Mind, myself included. The issue keeping this exotic from returning in Destiny 2 is that Void 3.0 already allows you to buff your Axion Grenade, essentially eliminating the need for this exotic unless it was reworked to do something different. Alright, we're finally on the Titan exotics, and much like how I started off the Hunter and Warlocks with their most popular and requested exotic, I'll do the same here. The Twilight Garrison is an exotic chess piece for the Titan released with the Taken King. With the exotic perk Tactical Air Support, Titans can now evade while airborne. This movement ability made Titans essentially the fastest moving class in the game, except for maybe Swordsgate and Warlocks, and was probably the most used Titan exotic all around. The reason it will never return in Destiny 2 is that Warlocks now have an in-air dodge, with the developer stating that this in-air dodge is part of the Warlock identity and that Titans should never expect to see Twilight Garrison return in Destiny 2. The Glasshouse is a Titan exotic helmet that was released with the Dark Below that allowed players to melee attack faster. Now this exotic allows players Weapons of Light and Blessing of Light buffs to last longer. It was kind of mediocre exotic at best, and I don't remember ever using this exotic. I can imagine it returning to Destiny 2 and working with the Titan bubble in some way, but it's not at the top of my list for exotics I think could return in Destiny 2. The Rise of Iron Titan exotic, the Thagomizers, are an interesting pair of gauntlets. This exotic gave Titans an extra melee, much like the insurmountable Scold Fort in Destiny 1, but the key difference being it also unlocked the Amplified node for Striker subclass as well. Now Amplified was actually a really decent perk for Striker Titans since it made it so kills with the Storm Fist, the Arc Titan melee, significantly reduced your super cooldown. Having an additional melee along with a free ability giving you back super energy made it a fun combination for spamming your Fist of Havoc super ability. The Thagomizers have a unique design, and depending on the player you were, you either loved or hated that part of it. I could see this exotic pairing well with the Arc Titan in Destiny 2, especially with Arc 3.0, so I don't think it would be too controversial to say that this exotic could come back soon in Destiny 2. Ruined Wings were one of the best picks for Titan and a standout in PvE activities. Added in the Dark Below, the Ruined Wings have the perk Seeds of Ruin, which allows heavy to drop more often and contains more heavy ammo in each drop. While this increase in heavy ammo is slightly inconsistent, with you sometimes never seeing any heavy ammo drops or gaining more heavy than you could ever need, it keeps you at heavy more often than you would think. I enjoyed the look of this exotic, but considering how heavy ammo finders are in Destiny 2, along with heavy ammo dropping more than it did in Destiny 1, I can't see this exotic returning anytime soon, if at all. The Helm of Immolation Light was a somewhat boring and underused exotic headpiece for the Titan released with Destiny. The exotic perk provided the player with the Death from Above and Headstrong nodes for their Arc subclass, and that was it. Death from Above allowed you to aim your Fist of Havoc a bit better in the air, and Headstrong also helped with aiming your Fist of Havoc by increasing the leap distance when you activated your super. The Helm of Immolation Light was a decent pick in PvP for better securing super kills and getting people around corners, but in everything else it was pretty much useless. The helmet does look great though, so returning it as an ornament could be a good choice. Destiny 2 does have the Heart of Immolation Light Titan exotic chest piece, which really only shares one similarity with this exotic being the name, but effectively makes it unlikely we will ever see this helm in Destiny 2. If you ever wanted to float in the air like Warlocks could, the Imperium Bellicose exotic helmet for Titans would allow you to do just that. Released in the Taken King, the Imperium Bellicose came with the exotic perk Anti-Grav Thrusters. Aiming your weapons while in the air holds you in place for a short time. Orbs collected when your super is full will recharge your melee ability. I actually enjoyed using these exotics with Warded Dawn. Since I often held my Warded Dawn for extended periods of time, it was an all-around decent exotic and had a simplistic yet unique look, almost looking a bit like a pearl. I would say this exotic has a higher chance than most for returning to Destiny 2, as I say we could use more exotics that benefit the player when they don't use their super. Another exotic helmet released for Titans in the Taken King was the Taikonot. Coming with the exotic perk Air Traffic Control, all rocket launchers gain tracking, radar remains visible when zooming in heavy weapons, and most importantly, heavy ammo drops increased when using a rocket launcher. Along with the Ruined Wings, this was another great exotic for pretty much all PvE activities in the game, and while I used Ruined Wings because I thought they looked better in my opinion, having tracking on rockets was a great addition. I can't see this exotic having much of a chance of returning in Destiny 2 for the same reason Ruined Wings won't probably ever return, that being that heavy ammo is much easier to get in Destiny 2. The final exotic armor piece for Titan, and the final exotic on this list, is the Immolation Fists. Released with the Taken King, this exotic came with the perk Accelerant, unlocking the Sunbreaker subclass node Explosive Pyre, which would have enemies killed by your super explode, chaining fiery solar damage to other enemies. This was a great option to use for those who enjoyed Solar Titan, especially since it would secure you quite a few more kills with solar explosion damage. This exotic looked decent, but I couldn't see it returning in Destiny 2. While I'm almost done with my list, there are quite a few exotic class items for Hunter, Warlock, and Titan, so I'll go through them with a picture on screen for each one real quick. For Hunter, there was the Night Stalker Cloak, acquired through the Digital Collector's Edition of the Taken King, the Chaos Cloak from Future War Cult, Cloak of the Rising for New Monarchy, and Cloak of Oblivion for Dead Orbit. Warlocks had the Stormcaller Bond from the Digital Collector's Edition of the Taken King, Circle of War from Future War Cult, The Age to Come from the New Monarchy, and Light Beyond from Dead Orbit. Finally, for Titans, there was the Mark of the Sunforged from the Digital Collector's Edition of the Taken King, Mark of the Circle from Future War Cult, Mark of the Executor from New Monarchy, and finally, Mark of the Oblivion from Dead Orbit. The exotic armor in Destiny was great. While some were just as memorable as the exotic weapons they were paired with, it's hard not to gloss over the fact that some of them were just not all that good. I mentioned a bit that I can't see some exotics returning unless they get reworked, but for pretty much every exotic, that explanation can be used. Bungie has shown how they can rework old Destiny 1 exotic armor to fit perfectly into Destiny 2. I mean, just look at the no backup plans for the Titan or the Graviton forfeit for the Hunter. So while there are some exotics I can speculate aren't going to return, for the large majority, anything's possible. The exotic armor for Final Shape hasn't been quite revealed yet, so I can imagine some old Destiny 1 exotic armor showing up there. If you've enjoyed the video, it would really help if you subscribe to the channel. My brother and I are keeping a schedule of one video every 3 days, and the support over our last multiple videos has been tremendous. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.